I'm joined by David Gedge of The Wedding Present. How's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Good stuff. You must have played in Leeds hundreds of times before. How do you find this venue normally?
My father's that now. My little joke. No, it's a nice venue. It's actually my favourite venue in Leeds now.
Yeah.
It's been different things over the years. I think it used to be called the Town and Country Club, then it was the Coliseum. We actually recorded a video here in about 1991, I think, or something. And now it's the Academy, obviously, and it's always been a good place. It's always been a good crowd and good sound, good lights, that kind of thing. All the things that make it, a good show. Yeah.
David, you said that when you went to Leeds University that you went to Leeds because of the thriving music scene. What do you think of Leeds' music scene now? How do you think it compares?
Well, I've no idea, to be honest, because I don't live here anymore. Yeah. So I've not lived here for over 10 years. So you tell me, really. I don't know. Is it a good scene still?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always like a good musical heritage, I think, Leeds. I mean, for this, obviously, it's not as big a city as like Manchester or Glasgow and that, but considering it's a smaller city, it's always had a thriving.
Yeah. It's just got the arena as well.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So how have the first two nights of the tour been so far?
Well, the first two nights of the British tour, we've actually just done about a month in Europe, and then we've kind of been all around the world, really, actually. So it's kind of the end of it for us. It's like the start of the British tour, but it's gone really well, actually. It's an interesting set because we're doing the A sides of our singles from the Hit Parade in 1992, which. So I never really planned as an album, really. It was singles, obviously, by the nature of the project. So it's been interesting to play them all live in the sequence that they were released. Really, it's almost random, because when you do an album, you kind of have a beginning and an end, and it's structured so it changes throughout. You have different, highs and lows and tempos and stuff, and dark and light. But these are just, songs in a row. Just released kind of in no particular order. So apart from the last one, which was a kind of a Christmassy theme, so it's quite interesting.
I know you've played George Best before, but I mean, is it difficult perhaps revisiting some of them old songs and when rehearsing?
Well, this is actually the fourth time I don't know, because we did George Best, we did Bizarro in 2010, and we did Sea Monsters last year. So we're actually working our way through all the albums, really, if you like, and it's a challenge. I won't deny it, because obviously, well, first of all, I'm the only one that was in the band at that time, so for everybody else, it's they're kind of learning what are new songs to them, really, and then reinterpreting how what we did all those years ago, really. So it's obviously it's not straightforward, and people play in different ways. People, got different amplifiers, got different guitars, different styles of music and stuff that we do now. So it's a challenge to actually kind of recreate it, but then at the same time stay true to the original kind of spirit of it, really. So, but it's definitely enjoyable. It's I wasn't really kind of fond of the idea at first, until we started doing it, and then actually I now quite like looking back and. Looking at things that we did years ago, really.
Whose idea was it at first?
Well, it was actually record labels. It was a record label called Sanctuary Records, who don't actually exist anymore now. But they were talking about releasing a 20th anniversary of George Best kind of re-release thing. Yeah. And they said, why don't you, there's a lot of bands these days are sort of doing albums in their entirety. It'd be really good if you did that for George Best as we release this album. And I said, no, I don't want to do it, because I don't mind releasing the album again, but it just seemed like kind of nostalgia to me, just like, we churn, as an artist you're always focused on what you're doing next, really, the new songs and the next album and stuff. So I kind of said no, but then everybody I spoke to, like the band and friends and fans and every single person said, "Oh, you've got to do it. It'll be really great. I'd love to see you play George Best." So I kind of okay, well, we'll try it. And to my surprise, actually, I did really enjoy it. I found it quite interesting, and as I say, a bit of a challenge. And I suppose I came to this conclusion in a way that maybe the history of a band is as important as the future anyway. So, and you can do the both. You sort of do both at the same time, really, because we play for 90 minutes. So an album usually takes 40-45 minutes of that, and there's plenty of time to do new songs. We've got a new single that we're going to play tonight, and other old songs and weird B-sides and things. So it's just part of the set, really. Now I think. Has
the reception all been positive? Do you think from playing that older stuff?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, it's interesting because when an album comes out, you don't really hear it. You hear. Here's a track off the new album, and then it's mixed up with other stuff. And especially with a band like The Wedding Present, we've always been essentially a live band. Even the albums we've recorded are kind of live, really. Yeah. It's the band in the studio playing together, and it's just recorded. So it's just a well-recorded live set, and I think to see that live is kind of obvious, really. If you play, especially an album like Sea Monsters, which we did last year, it's got a real mood to it. It's quite a dark record. It's kind of like a theme to it almost, and that's a great thing to play. There's 10 songs on it, and when you play it from beginning to end, it's kind of almost hypnotic. Because it's this kind of, it's almost like one song but broken into 10 parts, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and you'd never do that, if you weren't playing the albums live. So yeah, I think people do like it.
I was going to ask you about Sea Monsters actually, because you worked with Steve Albini on that record, who's worked with Nirvana as well. I'm keen to ask you, how did that come about and what was that like?
Well, he did Sea Monsters, which is the third LP, and I think we just, from my point of view, I actually heard Surfer Rosa by the Pixies, which he engineered as well, and it just blew me away. I just thought, wow, it's a great band obviously and great songs, but the sound was so just kind of hard to describe, really, but kind of natural, but at the same time powerful and kind of emotional, and it just sounded great. And I just thought, wow, I'd like to work with this bloke, whoever he is. And so we just asked the record label, RCA, and to be honest, all credit to RCA. They said, yeah, fine, because he wasn't really, it was obviously before Nirvana and that, so he wasn't particularly well known engineer then, and it was always more kind of, to be honest, bands that kind of sound like that. so not very commercial, really. And so it was good that they said, yeah, if you want to do that, we had a certain amount of control of what we could do anyway. So, and I think it worked really well. I think it was a nice mix.
Can I talk about your side project Cinerama? Because I think it was more strings and less guitars on that album. Would you ever consider resurrecting that band? Well, we do actually. Still, it still exists in a way. Yeah. Obviously, doing The Wedding Present takes a vast majority of my time, so I can't. And Cinerama is quite a time-consuming project because with the string arrangements and the orchestral stuff, it takes a long time. So I don't do it as much as I'd like to. But we play every year. For instance, I've got my own festival in Brighton, which we do. It's the 5th year this year. And Cinerama always play at that, for instance, so that's quite nice. And then I'm actually the most recent Wedding Present record, it was called Valentina, came out last year, and I'm actually in the process of re-recording that at Cinerama. So I've rearranged all the songs for that group, really, and it's all been played by different people and stuff. So that's an ongoing thing as well. It's just, as I say, it's just finding the time to fit it all in, really. I was interested in asking you as well, because I know you did have a brief break, but what's kept the band together, do you think? What's the secret?
I think it's probably that I'm a little bit obsessed, really, with it. It's kind of one of those things that I feel like I'm driven to do it, and if I'm not doing it, I feel like I should be doing it, and also it's quite a varied thing to do, because obviously there's writing songs, which I've always kind of enjoyed doing. There's been loads of 250 songs I've written now, and then, but after a while, if I've been kind of locked away writing songs for a few weeks, I find that I get a bit kind of cabin feverish, and I want to do something else. But then it's about, at that time you're off into the studio again. It's always exciting to work with people like Steve Albini, for instance, and different studios and try things out. That's always good. Then just as that's getting a bit boring and technical and we've got to do that again because that didn't work properly. You're off playing live, and that's always really exciting, travelling the world, playing concerts. Again, it can be quite tiring, and by the end of the tour you kind of okay, I'm glad it's finished and it's time to write songs again. It kind of it's a self-perpetuating circle really, and I've never, in all the years I've been doing it, I've never really wanted to stop really. So I think that's what drives the band on really, that kind of obsession, as I say.
Talking about songs and songwriting, I think the wedding present songs are very lyrically centred. Did the songwriting ever become difficult, especially as you matured?
To be honest, it's always been difficult. I've never found it easy. Again, that's probably why it takes so long. But it's not become more difficult. It's just changed. Obviously, as you grow older, your perception changes of certain things. Like, for instance, if I listen back to some of the early stuff now, it sounds a bit kind of teenagey. Kind of almost juvenile, really. And then, obviously, now I'm writing from a different point of view. So, I say it's not got easier or harder. Really, it's just changed.
Is the process always stayed?
No, that's changed actually. It depends on the song really, and the group. Because obviously the Cinerama process is totally different from the wedding present, because that's one is just me, kind of almost on the computer really for the Cinerama. But then with the wedding present, it's a live band, working together and stuff. But I mean, by and large, we usually write the music first, and then I'll go away and think about the lyrics, because I need to be isolated really, and have no distractions, and just kind of buckle down and do it really, because as I say, I do find it quite difficult.
Okay, David, well, thanks for doing this, and have a great gig tonight.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.